What's up, everybody? Just got your new race board at an event and you got to set it up, right? We got a big race tomorrow. So this is kind of my little rundown of what I like to do when I show up to an event, whether I traveled with my board and it's a new board, or I just showed up and I received my new board. This is kind of the few steps I go through to make sure the board is solid, working good, how I set up my handles, my leash, fin placement, and obviously the essential camel pack, especially for a long distance race. But let's dive into it first. I'm gonna open up the board. So as you can see, no handles on the board, no fin on the board, and it's time to kind of just go through the board and see what's up and get it all dialed in. The first thing I personally like to do, no matter what, is kind of just rub down the board and look really closely along the rails and kind of the areas that could have gotten damaged. So quickly I just kind of like look with my hands and eyes, feel on the board, make sure, okay, no, nothing's happening there. Grab it onto the other side, same thing, kind of just rub your hands along, see if you feel anything. Oh, I felt, oh no, that's nothing. And just kind of looking through the board, making sure there's no holes in it, because you go for a race and there's a hole in it, especially if it's a hollow board and now your board's getting nice and heavy. So board looks good, no holes in it. Now it's time to set up some handles. Handle placement is definitely preference, how you like to start. Everybody has their own technique of starting. Some people just like one center handle and they roll the board on the beach start. Some people like two handles, some people like one on the rail. So definitely figure out what you like and what's good for you. This is my personal preference of how I like to start with my board and how I set up my handles. So when I do go for a race start, beach start in particular, I'll have my board on the left, because my first stroke I like to have on my left side. So I'll have my paddle in my left hand, board on my left side, and now I'm ready to start. But as you can see, there's no handles. So how do you set up your handles? You got a few different placements. If you come close and check it out, you got a few different inserts here for different options. You got front setting, back setting, and sometimes gets a little confusing, right? So for me, grab these handles right here. Two nice, really comfortable handles Starboard makes. For me, I like to have my board on my left side, like I mentioned before. So on the left side of the board, I have it on the furthest back setting I can. So you see these two inserts right here, place the two handles there. That's gonna go on the back. My front handle, as I say front, on the right side, I go all the way to the front setting. So if you come close, you can notice they're a little bit off-centered. They're not perfectly the same. They're a little bit staggered. And if you have your board on your right side, it's the opposite, meaning on the right side of the board, put that handle all the way back. On the left side of the board, all the way forward. But for me, I like it like this. Left side's all the way back, right side's all the way forward. It just makes it more comfortable when you're holding it, not to have your hands kind of parallel. This opens it up so it gives your body some room, and it also gives you more control of the board. So you have a little bit more up and down control, especially when it's windy, to kind of hold your board down if the wind is blowing it up, or vice versa, holding it up if the wind is kind of trying to push it down. When you have it parallel, you don't have as much control as when it's staggered. Now you have a little bit more control and you can kind of lock that board in, for instance. Here comes another question of placement. Starboard's really cool where they give you a lot of options, just like the handles where we can place it in different spots. The leash can go into two different places. You have a leash plug back here on the tail of the board. This is typically where I run my my leash. I have it in the back, for instance. But a lot of racers, for instance, as we move up to the front of the board here, you can also place the leash string right here. So that comes, again, preference, what you guys prefer. Some people like it in the front, and the reason for that is when you step back on the board, you're not stepping on a leash. Sometimes when you have it running from the tail of the board, you're gonna, when you step back for a buoy turn, sometimes you do step on the leash, and that does happen. Having it in the front, for me, sometimes I've had it kind of catch the paddle, so I don't typically have it there, and especially if you're getting in the surf and things like that, the board kind of pulls funny and sideways in the waves. So I grew up here in Hawaii, and I've just always had my leash on the back, and that's kind of where I have it felt comfortable. So I just stick with what's comfortable and what I'm used to. And to kind of help solve stepping on the leash, there's different kinds of leashes. So grab the leash string, we'll funnel that through. And sometimes it's tricky to get the string through. Like this time it went pretty easy. But for instance, if that string's not going through easily, you can get like a little Phillips head or a small screwdriver or a fin key or even a stick that you find on the beach and just kind of help poke that string through, and it should pop out pretty easy. Sometimes it goes through nice and easy. But like I said, different leash options. So if you notice with this one, it might be hard because I don't have a comparison, but look how long that is. That's because this leash goes up here on my calf. So when I attach my leash up here, now, and back here for instance, and I'll step forward, kind of give you a little example. Connect it back there, get all the Velcro tight. When I'm stepping up here, for instance, you notice how the leash is up high. So when I do step back, I'm not gonna step on it. Versus if you have a leash down here on your ankle, like this, when I step back, there's more of a chance of stepping on it. So all about preference, and there is different options when we do dive into the leashes. So I typically run with the calf leash, it's called. So it connects up here on your calf, and that kind of gives you the ability to walk around on your board without stepping on it too much. The closer you get to your tail, you might step on it and find it there. So that's why some people like running the leash from the front. But if you do run it from the front, keep in mind, you're not gonna put it on your back foot, you gotta put it on your front foot. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind, because when I step back, you would need a long leash for your back foot to be connected, versus if it's connected to the front foot from the front, that kind of solves that issue. So play around with it. Race day is for performing, so during your training sessions and every day, just play around with it. Use the leash in the front, see how that feels. Play around with it in the back, play around with it up high on the calf. I've even seen new leashes, for instance, that, you know, attach around the waist, and a lot of people like that, because when you come in for a quick finish with like 3 or 4 other guys, you can just swoop right here at your waist, the leash is off, instead of having to bend down and fiddle with it down here. Like I said, I grew up with that. I'm comfortable with that. I haven't had issues with it. So I just kind of go with what's comfortable. The waist one I have tried in the past. It is pretty cool. It's up high, so you're definitely not stepping on it no matter where it's attached. And when you do come in for those close calls on race day, boom, rip it off, it's gone. And yeah, that's kind of a little rundown of testing some of the gear and the board. Of course, also, if it's a longer race, you're gonna want a camel pack. And just like all these other features and options I kind of mentioned, it's all gonna come down to what's comfortable. Some people have it as a backpack. I like that version. Sometimes if I'm carrying heavier water, like I'm going on a longer paddle or an inner island crossing, I'll tend to run with a waist one, because I can get it a little bit heavier and feel that bladder up a little bit more with water and not feel that weight kind of swinging around on my back, and it's kind of on my hips and you don't feel the weight as much. So same thing, preference, but when you have it down here, you're gonna have to make some type of connection for the hose. Otherwise the hose is down here on your waist. So you'll have like a little necklace and you attach the hose spigot right here. Whereas when it's on your back, for instance, like this is the waist one, but just for example, when it's on your back, the hose comes right over here and you don't have to worry about it as much. So play around with what feels comfortable and good for you. I've used both. I've used the waist and the back. Like I said, if it's gonna be a 2-hour plus race, I go with this one because I can get it a little heavier, the waist pack. If it's a shorter one and I just need a couple sips of water, for instance, then I'll run with the back camel pack. And that allows me to, you know, not have it so heavy. The hose is right here, nice and easy. and it doesn't get too hot on my back, for instance. But yeah, that's some race day preparation. Of course, included in gear, there's also the race prep side of things of your body, your mind, and nutrition. So, you know, the week leading into the race, visualizing, preparing mentally, kind of running through the course. If they already have the course map up, try to close your eyes and visualize yourself going through the course, and as well as eating a lot of good food. Your body can store up a lot of minerals and electrolytes. So starting on Monday, loading up on all your electrolytes, loading up on all your supplements, getting really good rest, you know, before bedtime, getting off your phone 30 minutes prior so that you can go to sleep a little bit easier. And things like this will just help you get in the right mindset and prepare for the race the best you can.